Imagine this. You're now standing in front of that girl, the one you've been eyeing all night from across the bar. You've given her a gin and tonic. You've said hi. She says hi back. You introduce yourself and ask her name. She says it's Denise. And you can tell that she's got that glimmer of expectation in her eyes. You think to yourself, oh yeah, I got this. 2 hours later, you're sitting back at home by yourself without her number, wondering where things went wrong. If this sounds familiar, then you know that nothing is as frustrating as having to deal with boring, aimless, small talk with people you've just met. Denise was game, but because you couldn't get past the first 10 minutes without forcing her eyeballs to the back of her head, the opportunity is now gone. What if I told you you can capitalize on this opportunity and get into the real meat and potatoes of a good conversation right away? The kind of conversation when you're both locked in and everything else around you becomes a blur. Today we're going to talk about how you can hijack that boring conversation and change it into the awesome kind that will bring you and Denise closer than ever. Tip number 1. Don't ask for answers, look for stories. Have you ever tried getting to know someone and they only give you those one-word answers? Really makes you feel like you have the entertainment value of a microwave. So, to stop feeling that way, you start asking more questions to compensate. Then, quickly, the conversation turns instead into an interview. Questioning is actually great in making your dialogue more interesting. So the problem might actually be in the sort of questions you're asking. Instead of sticking to the small talk questions that ask for one-line answers, ask for stories instead. Chris Collin and Rob Bedecker, co-authors of What to Talk About on a Plane, at a Cocktail Party, in a Tiny Elevator with Your Boss's Boss, suggested one way to get beyond small talk is to ask open-ended questions. Aim for questions that invite people to tell stories rather than give bland one-word answers. But how do you do that? Collin and Bedecker suggested that instead of asking things like how was your day, you can try what did you do today instead. Or instead of what do you do, ask how did you get into your line of work. The goal is to think about asking questions that encourage them to share stories. Tip number 2. Put the spotlight on them. A great way to sidestep small talk is to get genuinely curious about the person you're chatting with. Now that you've learned that Denise has stories to share, you can focus the conversation on hearing it. Truly hearing it and listening actively. Small talk usually goes downhill when you dominate the conversation with talk about yourself. But if you ask Denise genuine questions, probe, and ask for detail, that'll urge her to keep on talking. Then before you know it, you'll move on to a full-blown conversation. Remember, you should be listening to understand, not to reply. Susan Krauss Whitborn from Psychology Today says that too often when we're meeting someone new, we try to fill the dead moments with chatter about ourselves. It's much better for you to listen first and then talk second. Of course, someone has to start the conversation. But if you and your companion actually listen to each other and not worry about what to say next, things will flow more naturally. So keep the conversation about her. Ask her tons of questions and think about her answers like a chance to hear a really good story. People love talking about themselves. The more they talk, the more interesting and valued they feel, and the more likely they will be to associate that feeling with you. Tip number 3. Find and learn about their passions. Now think about this. How awesome is it to talk to someone completely excited about a passion of theirs? Whether it's work, baking, Game of Thrones, playing the uke, small talk disappears the moment you find and start talking about someone's deepest passions. Julian Reisinger, the founder of Love Life Solved, told Lifehacker, when a friend of yours tells you, or a group, that she went horseback riding and had an amazing time, don't ask, "Where did you go?" Rather ask, "I've never done horseback riding. What makes it so fun?" I guarantee that when you ask Denise about her passion for playing the uke and ask how she got into it, not only will she teach you a ton in an exciting and interesting way, but she'll also like you more and feel closer to you afterward. If you focus on what drives her passion and excitement, you'll keep the conversation fresh and engaging. Tip number 4, be honest. Sometimes the best way to kill small talk is to be honest. Lifestyle writer Jen Grandman observed, "We often sacrifice expressing our true thoughts and feelings for the sake of politeness. But there's something very authentic and surprisingly charming about being completely honest." So, if you hate small talk, tell her that you don't like it and that you'd rather move on to something more personal and interesting. If you're feeling nervous, be honest and say that. If you completely disagree with the uke being objectively the best instrument in the world, tell her that. Not only will you seem more confident and comfortable about yourself and your opinions, but your conversation will become more relaxed too. You might even become more playful with each other as you try to change each other's minds. But let's be honest, the uke has nothing on a good old electric guitar. Tip number 5, talk about yourself. The last way to quickly move away from small talk is by sharing a couple of mini stories of your own. This might seem like it's in contrast to tip number 2, but hear me out. Share details about yourself you'd tell a good friend over the phone, and not a stranger you just met at a dinner party. Grandman said, "When you share details about yourself, notice how the person reacts. Does the person keep the conversation going by asking a follow-up question, or do you just get a disinterested nod? If the other person doesn't seem interested, try revealing another detail about yourself until you hit on a topic that gets the two of you talking." Earlier we talked about making the conversation about your partner. But if they're as closed and nervous as you, a good first step may be to show some honesty and vulnerability yourself. So if she asks how your day was, really answer it. Mention that new Mexican food truck you tried, or a funny meme your friend sent, or how you really struggled to haul your butt to the gym today. This will humanize you and also signal to her that you are comfortable and real. This can do wonders in helping bring down her guard as well. Reveal something about yourself and discuss how it felt and what you learned from it, writes Jan Ledbetter. This invariably leads to disclosures from other people. They don't have to be massive secrets or anything like that, just something personal. Ledbetter's theory is supported by science. Psychologists say that when you disclose something about yourself, other people feel inclined to do the same. Just be careful not to get too personal. You can talk about how you discovered a new favorite artist, but maybe not about how you're having intense bowel movements. We hope that you found this video useful. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to stay up to date on our newest videos. We really appreciate your support. Also, follow us on our social media and visit our website at thetopessentials.com to learn more about how you can live your best life. See you soon.